thank you everyone for attending the Prostate Awareness Kickoff partnership with Alpha Phi Alpha Midwestern Region and the OraLeeFoundation Cancer Research Foundation. We have an amazing event for all of you. Just wanted to give a bit of an occasion. It was in during the summer of 2019 where the members of Alpha Phi Alpha had an amazing presentation come before us by Dr. Hadiyah Green. And in that presentation, she gave us information that was truly profound to all of us, that through her research, she has found a way to treat and beat cancer. And she had ran through trials with mice that actually, with one treatment, reduced the cancer cells with one treatment, and it was amazing. The entire room was just floored of what we had heard. And at that moment, we all knew collectively that we were going to stand behind Dr. Green and her work and support her in those efforts. And so this event is a kickoff of what we hope to be a continuous partnership between us and the OraLeeFoundation Cancer Foundation. We know cancer affects all of us in many ways, and as part of that, we have a panel from various areas. We have 2 members of the panel who are cancer survivors, which we'll talk about in a bit. We have a mental health expert, and we have a medical doctor as well to kind of round and give us that discussion about how to prepare ourselves and do the good work to fight this monster. And so, before we go into that, we will start with a video, and if we can have that video queued up, that would be great.
This physicist developed a treatment for cancer using lasers and nanotechnology, with the goal of creating a treatment with fewer side effects. Hadiyah-Nicole Green.
Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green.
Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green.
This is Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green, the one and only.
Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green is on a mission to seek out cancer and destroy it.
We can provide a local therapy just at the site of the tumor. It's like using a spotlight to highlight a whole room versus using a laser pointer in a specific location. After a single 10-minute treatment, there's approximately 100% tumor regression over the course of 10 to 15 days. Even though I didn't observe any side effects in mice, we still have to translate it properly for humans. I'm one of less than 100 African-American women with a PhD in physics in the United States.
I'm working on developing a laser treatment for cancer using nanotechnology and biomedical optics. My aunt, who raised me from age 4, announced that she had what she called woman's cancer. And she said that she would rather die than experience the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. And I took care of her the last 3 months of her life. 3 months after she passed, my uncle, who raised me, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer. He went through chemo and radiation, and I took care of him while he was going through his treatments. And I got to see with both of them firsthand the horrors of cancer and the horrors of cancer care. And it was so devastating that it fell on my heart that there has to be a better way.
So Dr. Green has 3 degrees in physics. Dr. Green is a superstar. Dr. Green, she just got an amazing $1 million grant for the work she's doing. She's already proving it with mice, and she's going to move on to human trials.
For the loved ones we've all lost, for the families that we can still save, let's make America the country that cures cancer once and for all.
And so let's bring on the superstar herself, Dr. Hadiyah-Nicole Green.
Good evening and greetings, everyone. Thank you to Regional Vice President, Brother Stovall, to all of the brothers of the Midwestern region of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, to our friends, family, and guests. It is my pleasure to be here this evening in honor of our beloved brother, cousin, friend, James McFadden, who was responsible for bringing me to the partnership. And this is a historic moment. This is our very first national partnership, and I'm excited about what this will mean, not just for the brothers in the African American community, but for the worldwide. I'm excited about this launch with the OraLee Smith Cancer Research Foundation. Thank you to each of you for your individual support. I know some people have already started donating, and for your collective support. I appreciate this opportunity to share how your community service and your advocacy and influence can help us save lives and literally change the way cancer is treated. So I usually ask by a show of hands how many people in the room have been impacted by cancer and just go into it. But I want to take a moment because this is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Early detection saves lives. If you have any kind of family history of any type of cancer, get screened often and earlier than the recommended age, eat right, exercise, and keep your stress under control, which is more than a notion in the middle of this global pandemic. And we have orange skies in California, COVID-19 in the air. We're at the height of the global awareness of racism with Black Lives Matter, and everybody needs a therapist these days. Especially with watching the real life, not as seen on TV, but just replayed on TV, public lynching of innocent human beings, and then rewatching it over and over and over again on social media. And then our superhero dies from cancer. And my technology could have literally helped save his life. And he's only a few years older than me. So this is a very, very real time, and cancer patients still need help right now in the middle of all this. And I don't know about you guys, but this has been a very emotional season for me. 2020 has been hard on a lot of people, and a lot of us are just not okay. But there are some things that we can control and some things that we cannot. And this, how cancer is treated, is something that we can control. So by show of hands, how many brothers and sisters in the room have been impacted by cancer, lost a loved one to cancer? Put some hearts, or if we can't see your hands, put hearts in the comments, drop some hearts in the chat room. And let me know if you guys have also lost a loved one to cancer. And it's usually the majority of the room. So it's not something that I've only experienced by myself. There's nearly 9 million people a year who die from cancer with the best of cancer care. And this is not a statistic for me. This is personal. So I want to take a moment to share my story and then get into what you all can do to help us in the middle of all of what's going on, so that we don't have more John Lewis stories. We don't have more Chadwick Boseman stories, that we can take this, and it's not the celebrities. These are friends and families, and even some of us sometimes. So we can do something about this, not next lifetime, not 20 years from now, but like literally today. We're on the brink of change. So my personal story: I was raised by my aunt and uncle, OraLee and Jenna Lee Smith. They were the only parents I knew. And they encouraged me, and I went on to become the first in my family to go to college. I'm now a proud HBCU grad, Alabama A&M University. And let me just put in context, because we're talking about the Midwestern Region launch. I'm from St. Louis, born and raised, and graduated from University City High School. So this is my home region. So I really appreciate this. And I want to just take that moment to acknowledge my roots, where I come from, the people whose shoulders I stand on, the village that raised me, the community that's responsible for why I developed this technology and then started a nonprofit. And I'll come back to that in a second. But I didn't just wake up like this. This was how I was raised and reared, and this was poured into me, and this was instilled into me. And it wasn't just one person. I'm literally the child the village raised, and the the success has 1,000 mothers, and literally this is the journey. So I'm here now with 3 degrees in physics, and I've spent 5 years training at the Comprehensive Cancer Center and a year in the Department of Pathology. I've interned at NASA and University of Rochester Institute of Optics, and all of this is not about my education. I was initially planning this career to revolutionize the way we receive cable and internet, and I graduated with the 4.0 GPA in physics. And then my aunt, the day after graduation, my aunt announced that she had what she referred to as woman's cancer, and said that she would rather die than experience the side effects of chemotherapy and radiation. This was completely devastating. Like, we literally haven't had Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner since 2003 when she passed. She was a dignified, church-going, praying woman of God. And she was everybody's big mama. She kept our family together. I was her primary caregiver the last 3 months of her life. And I watched in horror as cancer literally ate her from the inside out. I watched her go from being the strongest Black woman I knew to losing her ability to walk, to eat, to speak. And I'll never forget the sounds of her suffering and agony when all she could do was moan and grunt. 3 months after she passed, my uncle who raised me was diagnosed with cancer as well. He opted in for chemo, and I watched him lose 150 pounds, all of his hair, all of his eyelashes. His skin looked like it had been barbecued. It was horrific. Long story short, I saw the horrors of cancer and cancer treatments, and I knew there had to be a better way. So having this unconventional experience of being a caregiver and a scientist, it occurred to me that if a satellite in outer space could tell whether a dime on the ground is face up or face down, or if a cell phone can literally call anywhere in the planet, even in a stadium full of people, and target just one cell phone, then surely we could treat cancer at the site of the tumor without all of these side effects. And I know there have been people who don't look like me, who come from Harvard and Yale and Stanford, who thought they were going to cure cancer, and we still have nearly 9 million people a year dying. So I went to graduate school with a chip on my shoulder and a fight to win with this specific intention to develop a cancer treatment without side effects, and I actually did. I developed this cancer-killing machine that's using lasers and nanoparticles, and it has already shown complete elimination of human cancer in laboratory mice after 1 treatment. Complete elimination of human cancer in laboratory mice after 1 treatment with no observed side effects, no chemo, no radiation, and no surgery. So my life set me up for this mission and this ministry, and I have been called for such a time as this. I'm now a professor at Morehouse School of Medicine in the Department of Surgery. News about my work has gone viral several times, with the headlines reading, Black female physicist wins $1.1 million for cancer research. My interview with Roland Martin has had more than 14 million views. I've been named to the Ebony Power 100 and the Root 100 and USA Today Woman of the Century, and I'm humble and I'm grateful, but none of this can bring back any of my loved ones. Not a single bit of this, but maybe it can save yours. So in keeping true to my inspiration, and to make sure that no other family suffered the way mine did, I founded this nonprofit, the OraLee Cancer Research Foundation, named in honor of my late aunt. Our mission is to reduce the suffering of cancer patients by providing treatment that is accessible, effective, and affordable. Think Susan G. Komen meets Eli Lilly. It's a new business model. Most tech companies take technology from the scientists, and investors determine its destiny. Meanwhile, cancer nonprofits are over here raising over $1 billion with a B every year, year after year, to raise awareness and give hope. Well, I feel aware and I have hope, but we need a cure. We need an answer to cancer. And at the OraLeeFoundation, we have already proven that we can eliminate human cancer in mice. So we're not raising money for hope. We're not raising money for awareness. We're raising money to begin human trials. And just to make sure that you guys understand, that this is not 20 years from now. We are literally within 12 months. In as little as 12 months, we can begin human trials. We have our clinical partners in a variety of cancers, including prostate, breast, colorectal, which is what Chadwick Boseman had, and head and neck, brain, lung, anal, like literally from the rooter to the tutor. So we are on the brink of a cancer revolution with the technology that has already been developed. And we are raising money to begin human trials. And our community and all the cancer patients who have been sent home and told there's nothing else we can do, we need your service, your advocacy, and your support bringing this treatment out of the laboratory and into the hospitals. So I know the brothers and the community are gathered here for prostate cancer awareness and to learn about this partnership. But in the spirit of Black excellence, I'm inviting you all to adopt the OraLeeFoundation as your cancer charity of choice and be at the forefront of this movement to revolutionize the way cancer is treated and literally save lives for millions of cancer patients around the world, starting here at home. Our research is already done. We've already have more evidence than hope for a cure. Your support will bring this treatment to the people. It will keep us independent of the pharmaceutical industry and directly save big mamas and papas, aunties and uncles, sisters and brothers everywhere. So with that, I'm going to pause. I know we have a whole program tonight. I'm excited about this, and I want to ask each of you guys to adopt the OraLeeFoundation as your cancer charity of choice. Encourage your friends, your families, and your coworkers to direct or redirect their cancer fundraising efforts from other cancer nonprofits to us, because supporting us supports a Black-owned business, supporting us supports HBCUs, supporting us supports Black families, and supporting us supports you. We need your support, your financial support, your spiritual support, your network, your resources, and your encouragement. Everything from donating birthdays on Facebook to shopping with us on Amazon Smile, following us at Dr. Hadiyah Green and at OraLee.org on all social media platforms, and becoming a monthly donor. So, Brother Stovall, I'll give it back to you. You have the donation information?
I sure do, Dr. Green. And so here's how you can make the OraLee Smith Cancer Research Foundation the charity of choice when it comes to fighting cancer. The URL is https://oralee.org/alpha MWR. Again, that's oralee.org, ORALEE.org/alpha MWR. We actually have tiers of which you can be a monthly donor. The ICE donor, which is $10 a month, which $120 annually. The Black donor, which is $106 a month, or $1,906 annually. So yeah, there we go. The Gold donor, which is $210 per month, or $2,500 annually. And then the Jewel donor, $600 per month, $7,000 annually. I don't need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, that you giving is what's most important. So these tiers are there just for structure, but whatever you can give will be greatly appreciated. Outside of the URL, there's other ways you can give. You can text ORA226, ORA226 to 71777. You can mail checks or money orders to P.O. Box 11184, Atlanta, Georgia 30310. Just note that it's Alpha Midwestern Region in the memo. You can even use CashApp or Venmo to $ OraLeeFoundation. Again, note Alpha Midwestern Region in the memo. So we have countless ways in which you can donate and help bring this to human trials. Before we move forward, I do want to bring in our Regional Assistant Vice President, Brother Rucker, just to share some brief words, and then we'll move into our panel. Brother Rucker?
Thank you, Brother Stovall. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the former things have passed away. And the one seated on the throne said, behold, I make all things new. Then he said, write this down, for these words are faithful and true. And he told me, it is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give freely from the spring of the water of life. Revelations 21, 4-6. For some of us, we hear and understand these divine words as comfort for the aggrieved, as we may mourn the loss of someone near and dear to us. Well, for me and my family, these words have served as constant encouragement. This scripture gave my older brother Keith many nights of peace during his battle with lymphoma. Those many nights that Hadiyah just mentioned, the ones that included the loss of hair and weight, the constant aches, pains, and groans, the endless nausea and stomach pain. But God, within 11 months of his diagnosis, he was cancer-free. And for him, these words represented a part of him that the chemotherapy killed off and needed to be no more. And out of his greatest battle, that is the one for his own life, at the age of 17 years old, he emerged as a new being with new purpose and a new vision for the future. And if it were not, of course, for God's love, grace, and mercy deployed through treatment and modern science, my brother Keith would have left us a bit more than 9 years ago. Greetings, beloved. My name is Anthony J. Rucker, and I have the privilege of serving Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated as the Midwestern Regional Assistant Vice President. And I believe the following conversations and shared stories that you will hear this evening won't be short of breathtaking. They may move you to tears or spark in you great hope and joy. Lean in, my fellow brothers and sisters, as we embark on several very important conversations around the effects of cancer on the individual and the family. And then you will get to hear from one of God's true servants through Dr. Hadiyah Green, a physicist and self-proclaimed fierce killer of cancer. And we've certainly just heard a little bit about how she is doing that. And I am continually encouraged by these conversations and people like you who will raise money and raise awareness about this issue as a way to move these groundbreaking treatment options forward. We are happy to have this partnership, and we will pray that you will find this as much a worthy cause as we do. Thank you for committing your time, talent, and treasure to this effort. Onward.
Thank you, Brother Rucker, for such moving words. Again, I say it's always a pleasure knowing that you're on my side as we represent the region. And now I have the esteemed honor to introduce the panel that will carry on with the rest of the discussion. So we've met Dr. Hadiyah Green. We also have 2 cancer survivors, and when I say that, when I look at what they have on Facebook and social media, just their journey is nothing short of amazing. Urena Nance, who is a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and I've known her for at a point you just say years, right? That's how long I've known her. And so when I was aware of her journey, it was just it moved me to tears. And then to see, but the smile on her face saying that we're going to defeat this, and I'm moving forward, and I'm progressing, and I'm beating this. It just gave me encouragement. So I'm glad to have her on the panel. And then we have Brother Adisa Aarons, who documented his journey, and he is promptly wearing the shirt Adisa Beats Cancer. And watching his journey was amazing, and seeing him ring that bell and everyone celebrating. Is just moving. So I'm glad to have you here, brother. We have Dr. Jeffrey Sterling, who is a medical expert. Again, I see him, dear brother, just dropping knowledge. And I asked him to be a part of this to again share more of the knowledge from a general sense, and tell us how to be continuously healthy and aware of what's going on, and as we deal with our daily lives. So, brother Sterling, I'm glad you're on the panel. And then Michael Whiteside, when I think of mental health and those who are championing those battles, Brother Whiteside comes to mind. And, you know, one of the things that hit me as you think about all these journeys is that the mental impact that it has on not just the person who was going through it, but the family who was involved and those around you who are hearing these stories, and you feel this sense of hopelessness, and you're looking to understand, you know, some type of way forward. You know, we were all impacted by hearing the stories of Chadwick Boseman, and that is a mental connection that we have, and to as each of us rolls our hand or put the hearts up that's been impacted, there's a mental piece of us that is impacted as well. So I have Brother Weiss here to speak to that. So panel, thank you for being here. And I guess, you know, the best way to start is for Urena and Adisa just to share your stories. And we'll start with you, Urena. Just tell us a bit about, you know, your story and your journey overall, and then we'll move over to Adisa.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brother Stovall. My name is Urena Nance. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. I was diagnosed with triple negative invasive ductal breast cancer on August the 30th, 2019 on a Friday, right before Labor Day. And that diagnosis changed my life. I was in the doctor's room by myself, no family, no friends, just to be told that I have cancer. And the first thing that came to my brain is, I'm gonna die. I had no hope. I sat in the car and cried for like 2 hours until I was able to contact one of my sorority sisters and get to my mom's house to grapple the news that I was just shaken with. Once I sat in that information, September 4th, 2019 was life-changing, because that's the day that I understood what stage I was in my cancer journey and what it was. I was diagnosed as what they call early detection. The tumor they found is a lump that I found in my own breast 6 months prior to my diagnosis, but didn't go to the doctor because I was changing jobs. Once they looked at it, they diagnosed me as stage 1 or /2A. My tumor at that time was about maybe, I want to say, a little bit larger than a medium-sized meatball, if you want to know size of a tumor. And automatically my breast surgeon looked at me. She says, repeat after me, I will not die. And I repeat after her. She said, if you follow through the steps and you're an advocate of your own health, you follow these steps, then we can have a great outcome. So from that day forward, diagnosed on the 4th, got my chemo port stalled on 9/11/2019, and started chemo on November 6th, where I would go every 3 weeks. And that chemo was 2 chemo drugs. I thank God I had no nausea. I had no vomiting, but my body was shut down. And what I did is I learned to process and adjust my livelihood as to what my body could tolerate. So if I go for chemo on Wednesday, and I did keep my full-time job during this whole journey, I never took time off. I would go to chemo on Wednesday, and then I would get a new Leicester shot, which helped boost the white blood cells maybe 27 hours after my chemo on Wednesday. My body would then shut down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I would sleep for 3 days. Before each chemo treatment though, I would get a massage in order for my lymph nodes or lymphatic system to be drained to receive each treatment the best way possible. For me, I found that was easiest and best. And then in February, I rang the bell, February 19th. And the week that COVID hit is when I had my tumor removed. So the chemo shrunk the tumor down to a small meatball, but unfortunately, there was still cancer in my body. So I had to wait and go back through to get another surgery to see if they could get more tissue to see how much cancer was left. And then I got COVID. So I fought for my life for another 2 months, went back on oral chemo, had another surgery, and the cancer was still there. So as of last Friday, I had a double mastectomy to remove both breasts and reconstruction to give myself the greatest chance of survival. So I said to myself, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you can always get another body part, but you can't get another life. So to give myself the greatest chance to succeed and live a stronger and better life, as Brother Rucker alluded, I feel like a butterfly. I feel like now that I went through all of these roadblocks and these hills and valleys, I'm better for all my challenges despite the diagnosis.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And yes, you are definitely a butterfly. And I know I see the pictures of that smile on social media. I'm just sitting there rooting for you every step of the way.
I appreciate the support.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Adisa, if you would share your story, please.
Good evening to everyone. Atlanta, Georgia area. And I'm also a distinguished member of the greatest fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. My cancer story is that I had a colonoscopy done in January 7th. Reason that I had the colonoscopy done was that my mother was a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And during the second time that she had breast cancer, they did some additional testing on her and recommended that her children get tested. And so I was, me and both of my brothers were tested just to see if we carried the genetic cancer trait in our bodies. Unfortunately, I tested positive and I was at risk for colon, prostate, and stomach. Luckily, my brothers did not test positive. So one of the recommendations was to have a colonoscopy done. So I had the colonoscopy done on January 2nd. They found a mass in my colon, and the doctor came out and said, "You have cancer." So it obviously hit me like a ton of bricks because I am only 33 years old. It's not the thing that you expect to hear at 33 that you have cancer. You kind of expect to hear at 33, "Hey, everything's good. Come back and see me 5 or 10 years from now." So immediately kind of went into an action of, hey, we got to attack this, give myself the best chance of living. So got with my doctor. All of my doctors are at Emory University, which is one of the best hospitals that's in the Atlanta, Georgia area. We got a surgeon and my oncologist through Emory, and met them probably second, third week of January, and then kind of got a plan together for surgery. February 26th is when I had the surgery to remove the tumor. And then COVID hit in March. Really kind of everything kind of just went out of control, and we all had to get locked down. So that delayed chemotherapy starting until late April. So it was late April when I started chemotherapy, and then it was June 25th when I rang the bell for the last, as I like to call it now, the last dance that I had with chemotherapy. So it was 2 weeks of pills and the IV treatment. And then I would have a week off to kind of, my body would recover, and kind of just do it every 3 weeks. So I'm glad to say that as of July 23rd was when I got the official all clear from the doctor. Main thing that I'm doing now is just kind of making better healthy choices with I'm eating, dieting, and then also I will need to continue to go to the doctor every 6 months for the next couple of years, have scans, and also have blood work done to make sure that the cancer is not coming back in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you for sharing that. And again, I know I, just as many others in the region, purchased the very shirt that you're wearing, and at that moment, said we pledged to be on that journey with you, to see it to the end, and you were able to ring that bell. So we're so happy that you're here with us and you're sharing. Dr. Sterling, so just a question, like someone like myself, for instance, whose father as well as uncle, both have had cases of prostate cancer, and of both are survivors of that. Knowing that, I myself am now, as you would say, definitely at high risk. Are there things that you would say in a general sense in terms of health and wellness that we should begin to do and continue to do in terms of making ourselves prepared and stay prepared, to battle this monster? Dr. Sterling, you may be muted.
There we go. So we don't have enough time to get into it, but I do have a few comments that are pointed that I really do want to make that address your concern and what the folks in the audience really should be thinking about. Just by way of introduction, amongst many things that I do, I run a global healthcare consulting and implementation firm. And one of the questions that I continually ask people is that if I told you that as of this moment, things had just changed, how long would it take before you recognized it? What Dr. Green is doing has changed the game, folks. It is vital that you appreciate that you buy into it, that you support it, and that you understand it, okay? And I'm personally making the pledge that you will be the recipient of my cancer donation dollars, and I will use my platforms to spread the message, because what you are doing is qualitatively different than anything that we have previously had before us. Now, you're welcome. Oh, no, actually, thank you. God bless you and your work. And sorry for your losses, obviously. Now, to the rest of the folks here, it is vitally important that you appreciate that the reason why this research and that these treatment regimens are so important is because we are subject to healthcare disparities. We are victims of disproportionately bad outcomes that translate into cancers. We talk so much on the ladies' side of the equation about breast cancer, but we men don't appreciate that we actually have a higher lifetime incidence of prostate cancer than women have of breast cancer. So the level of awareness that we should be engaged in should pretty much match or exceed what the women do on that side. Hard stop there. Now, if you have family risk, as was mentioned, then you need to double down that effort. Really, the message that I'm going to leave you with is that an ounce of prevention still remains worth a pound of cure. It is incredibly helpful to realize that we are buttressing ourselves on the back end to present some dynamic new options that will change the game, have already changed the game. But you have to be stewards of your health, okay? Knowledge is health. Know better, do better, and you will be better. My message is a public health message. You really have to take care of yourself, and it's very simple. It's really just a matter of appropriate levels of diet, garbage in, garbage out, you are what you eat. Activity, you don't even have to think about exercise. You got every level of activity actually improves your cardiovascular function. So when we come to something like COVID-19, or if we come to something like one of the various types of cancer, you actually come to the conversation with a baseline level of health based on your previous activities, such that when you are confronted with a stressor like cancer or like COVID-19, your body is already positioning you to either do well or to suffer the consequences of your negative actions. So the things that we would talk about if I was having a conversation in answer to your question would be very fundamental. It involves diet, it involves activity or exercise, and it involves awareness. Are you following screening guidelines? Do you have a relationship with a primary care physician? Are you able to get information and advice such that you can get detected early? As these things go, the sooner you know, the better your outcomes are going to be. This is not that complicated. The rabbit hole goes deep, but it's actually a very simple set of things that you have to go after. And if you make the commitment to do those things, you will be better. And it's just so encouraging to know that we now have a new part of the equation into mix. And, you know, Dr. Green's going to be batting cleanup for us for the next generations or so, and the legacy will last thereafter. But there's a lot to this, and in a different time and a different place, we'll talk a lot about prevention and empowering you to be better stewards of your healthcare, so you don't necessarily have to get to this part of the conversation.
Thank you for that, Brother Sterling. And again, I gotta say, I love the gems that you drop on social media. I follow you constantly. You know, I look forward to those. So continue the work you're doing, brother. I know I definitely appreciate that.
What are his handles?
Ask Sterling MD.
Thank you.
And the Simcoe solution. Trust me, I'm everywhere. You just have to take a look.
Brother Whiteside, Michael Whiteside. So, you know, as I mentioned my situation with respect to you know, my father and uncle having prostate cancer, one of the things that I didn't mention was that I had to almost pry the information out of them in terms of their health, so I can be managed about my own health. And so as you do your introduction, I know that one of the things that plagues us in the Black community is that we don't talk about health. We don't talk about the things that we need to talk about and share, until it happens, and then we're hit with the weight of it. Can you, as you do your intro again, can you just share some of the mental things that you've encountered in ways that we can, from a mental standpoint, continue to be stalwarts in the community to help those who are in need with dealing with cancer?
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you for having me. Thank you to both speakers just about your stories. It's inspiring to hear your journey. Thank you again to both doctors on all the work that you're doing. Believe it or not, it definitely makes my job as a therapist 20 times easier, right? Because everybody's, concerned about their health. And then that also transfers into the mental health. So I primarily work in a psych hospital dealing primarily with those who are suffering from suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations, major depression, anxiety, trauma, all sorts of different things along the spectrum, right? So to answer your question, Brother Stovall, some of the mental things that people may face when dealing with, the possibility of cancer, even just talking about some of the, family health history, you're going to see anxiety, right? But anxiety may not look like the traditional sense in terms of, oh, I'm having a panic attack, or, oh, I got the bag like the cartoon, and I'm, hyperventilating. In this sense, it comes from avoidance, right? So I'm going to avoid the topic out of fear that if I speak it, I'm going to have to acknowledge that it could be present. And if it's present, then I have to come with a plan, right? So then if you have someone who, say, is a parent or a caregiver or any position of any potential or perceived authority, they're going to feel some sort of guilt, right, from bringing that to the forefront. But not only guilt, but they'll also feel guilt for not telling you. So now you have this almost ambivalent stage, which causes us to freeze, if you would, right? So now we have all the anxiety on the preventative side. So we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to address it. We don't even want to recognize the potential that it could be here. And then let's say that, on the high end, somebody is willing to at least acknowledge it. They get screened, and now they're in the doctor's office, and they've just been told that, hey, you might have cancer. Or I had a friend, it was actually one of my groomsmen here recently. His mother was diagnosed with stage 0 cancer, right? And this is, this is somebody that I grew up with all throughout childhood. 2 days before the wedding, he's like, hey, I don't know what to do, right? So now we're having this discussion about, functional depression, right? So all of us have, I'm assuming, heard the term depression, but in this context, we're gonna look at depression as the internal process of hyper fear, right? So we're going to constantly engage and endorse fears and all sorts of negative automatic thoughts, right? I know the first speaker mentioned, being told, well, you have cancer, and the first thought is, oh, I'm gonna die, right? So I really appreciate you saying that, because that's truth, right? That is that perceived reality that we live in with that first initial information. So now our entire life is going to be spent around trying to cope or make sense of what's going on. As I was listening, I also thought about this as a form of trauma, right? So one of the things that we practice when dealing with trauma is trying to make sense of it. If you can find some sort of handle, right, a lifeline or some sort of ground that you can actually hold on to that's tangible, we can make sense of the situation, right? And oftentimes that's where the family is going to be essential, right? Because the family is going to help keep you in touch with the actual reality of, hey, you're still here, you're still alive. With every breath in your body, you still have another opportunity. Now, as both doctors have mentioned, what are you going to do with that opportunity, right? Because that fear, going back to that anxiety, now we have depression already present, now we have anxiety, both on the family, but also on the person being told that they've been diagnosed with cancer. So now they're trying to navigate this space and identify, how can I go through life now? What is life, right? So we have all these internal questions. And for me, one of the things I would tell, I tell my patients who, now they're dealing more with suicide, so obviously it's different, but I tell them, you have to identify what are the essential truths of your life, right? We gotta get back to this reality so we can decrease this anxiety, decrease this depression, so now we can actually function and engage in some of those now preventative steps or treatment steps, depending on what stage you're at. So ask yourself, you know, what are the essential truths that are still going on? I'm still alive. I still have breath. I still have an opportunity. I have a support system, which means I have a team, right? My life still matters, which means it's still worth fighting for. So to answer your next part of your question of, you know, what advice I would give to somebody who's dealing with some sort of depression, anxiety, whether it be cancer, suicide, addiction, you name it, I would say to help them find that sense of purpose, right? We have this thing called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. One of the essential parts, I see Dr. Green is smiling. I see she knows exactly where I'm going with this, right? It's that self-fulfillment, that sense of purpose, right? I know the first speaker mentioned, you know, having that doctor tell you, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to die, right? Now we got something worth fighting for. And if the body follows the mind, sometimes we got to realize we have to first re-energize the mind so we can get in this fight, right? It's not just the body, it's the person.
You know, that's one of the reasons why you were selected to be on this panel, Brother Whiteside, because you dropped the information like that. And I remember sitting in a session with you, and it really touched me the way you broke it down in that way. And so, Dr. Green, as we round things out, you know, if I can interpret sort of what everyone said, you took something that was a traumatic situation and you turned it into power. And I remember hearing, I forget which radio show it was, but you translated it to detangling pearl necklace, in terms of how you figured out how to you know, address this issue. And so if you could just, you know, kind of give us a little bit more insight into your, you know, your mindset of how you looked at this and you just, you know, broke it down into something that was, you know, atomic in nature to get us to where we are now, where we actually have, as Dr. Sterling mentioned, a new variable in this equation to get us to a better spot.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a couple of things that I want to say about the mindset of healing, the mindset of winning, the mindset of being proactive. So there are a couple of things. I went to therapy for years to help me manage grief and coping with stress and trauma and drama so that I wouldn't bring childhood and generational things into my present and future. So part of one of the things that my therapist said was how you can help heal is to do something in honor and in memory of your loved one. And so starting the foundation, developing the technology, instead of saying, oh, well, since it won't help my aunt, I just won't do anything. But it's a way to pay it forward to the universe. So that's part of it. And a lot of people, almost all of our volunteers have lost a loved one to cancer, and they're volunteering in honor and in memory of a loved one. So that's a beautiful way it's a therapeutic approach to healing by doing, by serving. Serving others is healing. The other thing, to Brother Whiteside's point, there is this book, I don't know if I have it. It's Love, Miracles, and Medicine. There's this other book. I don't know if it's here. It may be on my favorite. It's called The Miracle of Mind Dynamics. And it talks and speaks to, like, as you think it is true, like whatever you believe, it is true. When I set out and said, I'm going to develop a better way to treat cancer, Like, it wasn't if I can do it, it was a when will it happen. And the mindset about I can beat cancer, it's not a if I can do it, it's how will I do it. The mindset of being a survivor, the mindset of being a winner is adopted in this book, The Miracle of Mind Dynamics, when you have like a world-class athlete who gets into some freak accident and they're told, oh, you'll never be able to walk again. And the person who believes that diagnosis, that will be true. But the person who says, no, I envision myself walking out of here, I can walk out of here, that's also true. Whatever you believe is true. And belief is something that's been ingrained into our culture. And we label it as religion and we label it as spirituality, but it is also a basic physics principle of tapping into a cosmic energy that is bigger than us, and that vibration can be healing. That vibration can propel you into things that maybe other people haven't been able to do it because they didn't have your prayer life. They didn't, like Brother Rucker's brother, like that belief can be healing. And there's also so much into being determined and persevering and knowing that no matter what, this can happen. And that was the same attitude I had when I was in undergrad and I'm studying physics. And it's like, yeah, it's hard, but if I study for an extra couple of hours, I can get that 4.0 GPA. And to the students in here, I used to tell myself, yeah, class is hard, but 300 level calculus is nothing compared to picking cotton on a plantation. It's nothing compared to what our ancestors went through on the transatlantic slave trade. It's nothing. And I don't know what the Egyptians tapped into when they built the pyramids, but if that is available on this planet, and it is available to them, it's available to us. And just as part of like the mindset, when I was looking at the concept, and I'll just share this jewel of enlightenment. There is this, when I first learned about enlightenment, it was and I'm sure you brothers will appreciate this, sunlight would come and carry a beam of information and enter into the very tip top of the pyramid and bounce off the sides of the pyramid, and the person sitting at the right location at the right place at the bottom of the pyramid will have that light enter into their forehead and their third eye, and they will become enlightened. And this was where the concept of the internet and optical communications came from ancient Egypt. That wasn't something that came with Bill Gates. Like that wasn't, that's not new science. And so all of that information is available to us to help us heal, to help us solve problems. And Brother Stovall, you were asking this story I was telling about, my aunt used to have me untangle the necklaces in her jewelry box. And she would have me sit there. She was like, you got little hands and good eyes. Pull these necklaces apart. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen your grandmama's jewelry with all the necklaces all balled up and entangled. And she can't ever just go pick out something and wear it because they all tangled up into each other. And how they got tangled like that, only the Lord knows. But she would have me sit there and unravel, and I would go in and out, and it was a puzzle to me. And she built me into a professional problem solver with the patience to go through the intricacies of pulling apart and sorting through the knots in these little bitty, I don't know if you guys ever remember, like those little bitty gold necklace with them fine chains and beads. And this was 1980s. We're not talking, this. So there are all these little beads, and it was the intricacy. And she would say, well, you figure it out. You can do it. And I didn't know I could do it, but she would just say, you can do it. You can sit there. And it wasn't a punishment. It was a confidence that she was building, that I can solve the unsolvable problems of untangling this old lady jewelry. But it developed this skill set and this confidence of pulling apart and problem solving. So that was my first training in solving puzzles and taking the time to untangle something complicated. And it built the patience, it built the skill set. And that was the same thing that I went in to do with the science. And that's the same thing that people can do with any obstacle they're facing with their health, with their schoolwork, and in life. right now when we're dealing with things, like you can build a skill set to overcome any obstacle and any challenge. So there we go.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Now I just want to ask one more question. I know we're up against time, but I think this question is pertinent given the conversation that we've had. As each of us has talked through the different stories, we've all come across one key item, which was trauma. And Dr. Green, you tipped the scales when you started talking about all the different traumas that we're being faced with, with the racism that we're being faced with, systemic, and institutional, and what's happening in presently in today's times, cancer, COVID, all these things that's just doubling down within the Black community. And so I'm asking this question to everybody, and I'll start with you, Dr. Green. What are real quick, what are the things that we can do to better position ourselves to face these adversities when we know, until sometime in the short future, cancer is still going to be here in our areas. COVID is still going to be here in our community. All these things are still going to be here. What can we do to better position ourselves for the fight?
So, and this is something that Dr. Sterling, he hit it so precisely. I just want to elaborate on it. But he basically answered this aspect of eating right, exercising, and on a simple level, boosting your immune system and giving yourself more, as they would call it, wherewithal to go through the ups and downs of life. And little things like getting a good night's sleep, taking vitamin C, vitamin D3. And people discount it because it's from the old school, but having a solid prayer and meditation life. And I know a lot of old school people don't get into the meditation part, but it's biblical, pray and meditate. And there is science and data behind how therapeutic and healing and calming prayer and meditation can be. But in the physical movement of parking and walking further from the building and taking the stairs instead of the elevator, these are practical steps. Eat more fruit and more vegetable than you do meat. And eat as organic as much as you can. Grow a garden. It's therapeutic, it's healthier. And in this time when you don't know what's happening in the state of America with the economy, having a garden is just a good financial decision. It's a good safety insurance because you just never know if the electricity goes out from one of these storms because we messed up with global warming and you can't swipe your credit card, then who can buy food? So we need to have gardens and we need to take these precautions to keep our stress levels down in unpredictable times when literally anything can happen. And if 2020 hasn't taught us anything, is to prepare for anything. And preparation helps decrease stress. Stress has been scientifically proven to make cancer grow faster. So keep your stress levels down. It's also one of those underlying conditions that exacerbates almost every disease that Black people suffer from more than others. So like managing your stress by exercising, eating well, and getting a good night's rest. Drink clean water. Those are like basics, like take it back to the basics. And sometimes people, I have to say this because everybody's on different levels. When Dr. Sterling said junk in, junk out, fast food restaurants have documented carcinogens in the ingredients. That's not food. You may eat it, but it's not food. If it has a list of ingredients with things that you can't pronounce, you should not be consuming that. That does not give you life. When Dr. Sterling said eat to live, that's more than just a catchphrase. Like eat living foods so that your bodies can have what they need to replenish. So like there's a whole system that was by design. There's this whole system working in you, and the food that's natural, fruits, vegetables, like those things have minerals and nutrients in them to help your whole system work together. So I could go on. I know like we're yeah, but I just wanted to echo and go into a little more detail about what the good Dr. Sterling said.
Sure, sure. Urena, I'll ask you the same question. What can we do from your vantage point to better prepare ourselves, dealing with all this trauma that's out there now?
I will piggyback after Dr. Green. I meditate and have a lot of quiet time to get through every day now. I will say one thing that really helped me during COVID and during the breast cancer journey is not to subscribe to media. Don't watch television all the time. Don't turn to those conspiracy articles online and YouTube videos. Sometimes you have to let your mind settle because we move so fast every day, time in and time out between our organizations and our occupations. You get lost in the shuffle and you need some quiet time, at least 1 hour before bed, to settle your mind, whether it's listening to your favorite spiritual, writing in a journal. I do a lot of journaling, and from this whole breast cancer journey, I've produced a book. So in 166 days, I was able to document my whole journey, which is going to be able to help someone else, but that's my therapy. So you have to tap in what works for you. And when you do that, create your own constitution to do that daily in order for you to have a better way.
All right, thank you for that. Adisa, what thoughts do you have about better preparing yourself and positioning yourself to deal with the trauma?
Well, I'm going to, somebody may notice that the view on me changed. My internet went out for a minute because the power flickered off. So that's why you kind of are seeing me now from my phone. It's always good to have a backup when you're doing these things. But the one thing I would say is be proactive. By me being proactive, I'm still here today. I make sure that I go to my doctor every year. And so that's something that we as African Americans, especially African American men, need to make sure that we're doing, is go to the doctor. If something's not feeling right, even if you think it's something small, pick up the telephone, make an appointment, go to the doctor, because going to the doctor can save your life. And going to the doctor is the reason that I'm still here.
All right, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Dr. Sterling, is there anything additional? I know you started the jewel of dropping the knowledge. Was there anything additional that you would add to the conversation? You're on mute, Dr. Sterling.
There we go. Stop tripping. And I want you guys to realize that choices have consequences. It really is just that simple. Begin with the end in mind. You have to understand that what you choose to do is consequential. If you begin with the end in mind and visualize what it is you're trying to accomplish. Look, we are a people that has every reason on the face of the earth to be subject and victims of post-traumatic stress as a community. I've talked about this at length. If you learn to simplify your life, I wrote a best-selling book called There's 72 Hours in a Day, and it's a productivity manual that really speaks to finding the shortest distance between two places. And what I want you to focus on is to begin with the end in mind. What outcomes are you trying to accomplish in your life? In that regard, cheating is good. Once you discover how to accomplish the things that you actually want to accomplish, your life will be so much easier. There's so much nonsense going on all day, every day, and you can so easily get caught up in it. Simplify your life, folks. Remove the stress. Learn how to surround yourself with positivity. Learn how to put nutrition. Food is indeed medicine. The people that you surround yourself, you truly are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. I say every year, my New Year's resolution every single day, I don't wait till New Year's, I need better friends all day, every day. Elevate yourself, surround people that will uplift you. Get spiritual. Western medicine is not the totality of medicine. Find your third eye. There are just so many fundamental, simple things that you can do. Slow down your life, identify who it is you want to be, where it is you want to be, and act accordingly. If you deal with these carcinogens that are in your food, if you deal with the stress that comes from arguing with nonsense and knuckleheads all day, every day, if you avoid preventive measures, you're going to have to deal with disease on the back end. This really isn't that complicated. And the name of the game isn't just knowing what to do, but it's being able to implement the strategies to get you to where it is you need to do, where you need to be. So take your time, slow things down, surround yourself with good people, find good habits, and just be happy. we don't know when that bus is coming with our names on it, folks. So let's just take our time and get to where it is we want to be. And it really doesn't get much more complicated than that unless we choose to allow it to be.
Understood. And finally, Michael Whiteside.
So I'll just say from a mental health perspective, man, talk about it. Talk about your problems. That's one of the big issues in our society, in our culture, especially as Black men, right? We take so much stress of the world, put it on our shoulders, internalize it, right? We don't keep it simple, as Dr. Sterling so eloquently said. So find people that you can talk to. Engage in self-care, right? Self-care is not just simply hanging out or relaxing. It's an intentional investment in yourself, right? Invest in yourself. You are the only you, and you are the best you that you can be. So what you are you going to choose to be today, right?
Perfect. Thank you. And that definitely rounds it out. I want to thank the panel for such amazing stories and information. What I love that everyone did, and it was just organic, is that we kept it simple, right? We took it to the basics, and we talked about the things that we need to do in the simple sense, none of the complex elements and all this stuff that makes it seem so daunting that we can't achieve it. So I want to thank you all for that. Just some housekeeping items. Our goal here is to be a continued partner with the OraLee Smith Cancer Research Foundation. And the way we do that is by sending in that donation. We have several ways you can donate. It's through the website, which is oralee.org/alpha MWR. Again, OraLee, ORALEE.org/alpha MWR. You can also text ORA 226, ORA 226 to 71777. They also accept checks and money order. You can do that to P.O. Box 11184, Atlanta, Georgia 30310. Make sure you note Alpha Midwestern Region in the memo if you do that. There's also CashApp, which is $OraLeeFoundation. And again, if you use that method, make sure you include Alpha Midwestern Region in the memo. We also have suggested contribution levels. There's the ICE donor, which is $10 per month, which attributes to $120 annually. There's the Black donor, which is $160 per month, or $1,906 annually. The Gold donor, which is $210 per month, or $2,500 annually. Then there's the Jewel donor, $600 per month, $7,000 annually. But I must repeat, the key is that you donate. Any amount you give is going to help us move that much closer to human trials, which is indeed necessary. So I look forward to all of us assisting in this, and I want to thank everyone who has made this evening possible. And I'm going to start with she might kill me for this, but Regina Nero and Tracy Stevenson, who are in the background, they were doing the work that you don't see, and so shout out to them. And if you're in the chat, you've seen Tracy popping in with the different ways to contribute. They are amazing. Then we have Lawrence Manning, who is on the who is moderator or on the maestro, leading us through the different structures. So thank you to him. You know, these are the ones who don't get the limelight. They're on the videos, but they are just as important to making it successful. I want to thank my regional assistant vice president, Brother Rucker, for his amazing words and just being a continued partner and engaging. And then we also have Brother Javon Adams Walker of Profiles Be Like, who's here. You see him on the video. He is helping move this conversation and move this partnership forward. So thank you for what you're doing and continue to do. And of course, our panel, Michael Whiteside, Dr. Jeffrey Sterling, Lisa Aarons, Serena Nance for your contribution. And last but not least, Dr. Hadiyah Green for providing the occasion for and giving us a way that we can finally beat cancer. You all have been amazing. Thank you so much. Continue to give, continue to support, and we will beat cancer once and for all.